Hi everyone, I'm Shin from MasterTAAG and welcome to our webinar brought to you by MasterTAAG. Today we have Raindy with us here today. Raindy is an IT expert in hospitality from Aryaduta Hotel Indonesia. Aryaduta Hotel is Indonesia's leading hospitality group with a long tradition of luxury, comfort, and style since 1974. Hi Raindy, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, same.
Could you give us a bit of an introduction about yourself?
Okay, my name is Raindy. I'm IT manager for hotel hospitality. It's already been 15 years, my experience with the hotel industry. I'm work currently with the Aryaduta Hotel.
Okay, just to go more into about you, could you give us like a brief kind of a description of your job and how it changed over time with COVID pandemic in between? So what were your job description before COVID, during COVID, and then obviously post pandemic, like right now in the transition, how has it changed?
Yeah. Overall, we already before the pandemic, before the COVID, we already moved to 4.0 industry.
Mhm.
As we know, the industry become digitalized and then use more the technology to implement in the industry. With this pandemic, with this COVID-19, we got advanced the technology, and then we implement all the technology to support the business, because the hospitality is a service business. But today, not only the service, not only the hospitality, but the security and the healthy that our guests expected to have experience in our hotel. So with this condition, it's push us to uh, put the technology, invest in the technology, and then to make sure that our guests safe and health in our property.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that sounds about right in the sense that, everything's being digitalized. And you're absolutely like, I think it's quite clear that COVID pandemic has affected our job descriptions in some way, for
Yes.
me, for everyone really. And, it's very clear that COVID had a huge impact on hospitality industry in general, with closure of many businesses for many months, during the multiple lockdowns, different regulations,
Yes.
different restrictions, and obviously
Yes.
tourists are not really around anymore, which is obviously a big impact as well. Given your expertise in the IT industry as well, like what are your views on this? Like, how do you think this COVID pandemic has played out in the hospitality business?
Okay. Actually, the hospitality business already implement the technology like online travel agent, like the web check-in, like the kiosk, and then for other services that we deliver to our guests. But what we change is in the food and beverage or culinary business in our property. With this COVID, our guests cannot gathering in the restaurant, so they need to have the food or beverage in their room.
Okay.
But so we improve the to support our guests, how to make them order easily, and then how to deliver uh, what our guests expect, because uh, they cannot gather in the restaurant or bar, on the cafe. So they need. So I implement all the technology that support for the business.
Yeah, perfect. Could you talk us through what kind of technology you implemented? Like, what do you think was the most kind of a critical technology that you implemented that kind of made the whole pandemic situation slightly easier on your hotel that you're currently working at?
Yeah, I implement the QR code for the order menu, and then for the order taker, also for the payment, because yeah, as we know, now everybody use the QR code for the payment also. And then we also implement for the any guest request from so what we call is BY OD, or bring your own device. That we encourage the guests to use their device to have experience and to keep our services to the guests. So what the important things that we are contactless from the guests, but we still keep the services to the guests. We still improve the experience to the guests.
Absolutely. Talking about the customer experience as well. Obviously, with pandemic, there's no face-to-face. There's not a lot of or enough of face-to-face interactions, and that obviously has a huge impact on customer relationship as well. Was there any kind of a struggle when it comes to kind of dealing with lack of communication between you and the customer, or kind of building that relationship?
Yes. The first, this is pandemic condition, right? So what the business needs, it's something that can support the business with less investment. For our guests, they how we educate our guests, like how to use the application or how to implement this technology or these new things to our guests, because yeah, many guests don't want to stay at property that not secure, safety, and can make sure the protocol for the health.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Just kind of give us a background into the current, like the how pandemic affected Indonesia. I think different countries reacted different ways in terms of restrictions and regulations they put on their citizen and the members. So kind of like give us a background information into how Indonesia responded to the global pandemic, as well as how you felt, it was going for you within Indonesia.
We have what we call, it's not a lockdown, but we have PSBB. It's mean a limited movement to Indonesian citizen. So every movement, if you want to go to another city, you need a negative letter for the COVID-19 from health institute. So for the hotel or the hospitality industry, it's quite hard to have our guests. It's mean like it's more expensive to have a test than a ticket or the transportation to the destination, right? It's mean like if we go to Bali, you need to have a health letter, and when you go back to your city, you need another health letter from the health institute. So that is the challenge, because the vaccine is not is slow, because our country have a big population, so need more times to have a vaccine in our country. But our government is moved super fast and forward to have all the citizens to have the vaccine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Vaccine will hopefully help us bring back the norms that we used to have before pandemic. But given that, having said that, obviously we talk about bringing the norms back after the vaccination, but I personally don't think everything will go back to pre-pandemic norms. I think, obviously, as you mentioned multiple times, the technology that we've implemented that made our life slightly easier, I think those will stick around. What do you think about that?
Yes, even after this pandemic, this pandemic will not end. This gonna be this COVID will be in our life, for the next journey. But after all back to normal, this technology will still implement and more improve. Like if like Indonesia have Gojek, right, before the pandemic, and they getting improved since the pandemic. So it's mean many people aware and use the technology. Before, like the QR code, not much people understand how to use the QR code. But now almost all the people use the QR code when they have to pay, like the QR payment, and then to order food in the restaurant, and then to make bookings, and then many things now use the QR code. So the technology will not stop in the QR code, but as we know now, the technology become advanced, like NFC, like many others technology that will support make business and make our guest experience improve. And as I already told before, now the guest typical is looking for a safe place, a health protocol, and then it's not just about a star of the hotel, but they look for other services that the hotel give to the guests. It's not just about the room, not just about the taste, food, or the beverage, but also like the protocol of health. And it will not stop. It will getting advanced at the end, because we need to prepare for another in the future that like as we know, this is not the first pandemic, but we need to prepare before another pandemic that will happen in the future.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you on that note. Speaking of preparation, obviously, with pandemic, as you mentioned, the customers are looking for somewhere safe, where they can be safe at, somewhere more kind of with a lot of precautions regarding the COVID pandemic. They're also paying a lot of money, as you said, to travel. Rather than to travel, they're paying a lot for this tests. So regarding that, how has there been any kind of a staff training in order to make the customers feel better? Has there been any kind of workshops that you guys are doing in order to help your staff to adjust to the new lifestyle?
Yes, our government have a regulation, what we call CHSE. It's related to the cleaning, health, safety, environment. So our government have a standard that that we need to implement on all the property, hotel, and the tourism place. So without that certificate, we cannot operate or opening our hotel or other destination. So we have a high standard for that, and what we need is to make sure that the standard is implemented every time, is consistent, that our staff or the people, even our guests, is follow the standard of our government regulation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think with the pandemic going on, I think consistency is the key to everything. I think for myself during the lockdown, having some kind of routine, having some kind of consistency, because there are so many uncertainties during pandemic. I think that was really important to me. Was that the similar case for you as well?
Yeah. And the QR code is one of the standard of our government regulation. So many, I mean that many business now implement the QR code as a standard for the hospitality, and then for the to implement in this pandemic time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those regulations sounds very nice. So just kind of give us more information on how the current situation in the hotel right now. So is every staff obligated to wear a mask and gloves, or is there other restriction that we should be aware of?
Yeah, on every staff, especially in group of if there's a group in staff, they need to implement high health protocol like mask, glove, and then a face shield also. And then staff cannot gathering in one place. So we have a regulation that strictly our staff to have check every time they check in, coming, like temperature, and then we have every testing for the COVID routine for every week for the staff and for the employee.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the QR code quite a bit. Let's go back to the QR code just for a while. Obviously, you believe that technology had a massive impact on getting ourselves together and preparing ourselves for the post-pandemic era. How do you think the QR code will impact not just Indonesia, but rest of the world in the hotel industry?
Yeah, the first thing I want to thank you to invent the smartphone, right? Without smartphone, there will not be a QR code. That's the first thing. The technology comes first with the camera, with the smartphone, and then now with the QR code, using the technology more advanced to support the business, make us more easier, even to make our business grow more. And then the only challenge is how to implement the QR code and to educate our guests and to give a different experience to our guests. This is the point how technology can make all easier. If technology not make easier, so why we must use it, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's why the key point that it make easier, it can grow our business, support our business, and then it become another point to our hotel. So the guests come to our hotel that we already implement this QR code.
from my understanding, you're a big fan of MasterTAAG as well. What are your kind of favorite features when it comes to MasterTAAG menu? Or what do you think is the top feature that you use more often or you appreciate the most?
MasterTAAG is easy to use, and then it's simple. All the feature MasterTAAG have an add-on, so I don't. I believe that I just need to pay for what I need. I don't need to pay for the feature that I don't need, right?
Yeah.
So it's mean that it's customized. It's the price is because I already only need what we need to implement, so we can choose which feature. That is the positive, the plus point for MasterTAAG from other application.
Yeah, no, I think that's you summarized MasterTAAG pretty well there. If you were to recommend a MasterTAAG to someone, what kind of person or what kind of persona would you recommend MasterTAAG to?
MasterTAAG is good for a restaurant, for hotel, for cafe, and then it's in hotel. I use also for the guest order. It's midnight on not only for the food and beverage, but for the guest amenities, so they can order or they can request from the MasterTAAG QR code.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, for you, obviously being the IT expert, I believe that COVID pandemic period has been very busy for you, implementing different IT technology. Looking out for different options for your hotels as well, providing that service. Speaking of the technology that were implemented during pandemic, or kind of amplified in terms of usage. Obviously, I think communication was the biggest in terms of digital technology, whether it's Zoom calls, Skype, WhatsApp, or different kind of social media platforms came in really handy when you couldn't actually meet up with your staff, have that face-to-face conversation or group meetings. Talk us through kind of the big implement of social media networking as well, please.
We implement all the technology, especially in hotel. There is a MICE or a meeting that need online meeting, and then because the regulation, they cannot have offline meeting.
Yeah.
So now all the MICE business is on the online. So we also invest on that technology for the to support our guests with the online meeting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, I don't think everyone was familiar with online meetings or those platforms used during online meetings. Were there any challenges when implementing the online meetings, so switching from offline to online?
Yes, as we know that the Indonesian internet is not quite good. So that is the challenge, because the internet bandwidth and then the internet speed is one of the key point to our guest needs. Yeah. So because everyone go online, we need to provide a good internet quality. There is the challenge in Indonesia, because the pipe for the internet is not quite good to support this trend.
So with that challenge in mind, how did you overcome that or compensate for that challenge? So obviously with meetings hosting number of peoples in the meeting, if the internet isn't fast enough, that would affect the quality of the meeting, right? So how
Right.
did you kind of compensate for that kind of loss of quality or loss of communication in that sense?
Uh, we invest in the internet, in the technology. Before we only use one provider. Now we use three providers to support our internet in our hotel
Mm-hmm.
because we cannot depend on the provider. Yeah, so we have a backup, the main link, and then to support the meeting, we also have a bandwidth on demand. So it's a dedicated internet for the meeting room. Uh, because yeah, there is already one of the primary needs to our guests. Yeah, so when a hotel provides high speed internet, the guests will choose that hotel. There is because the technology because this pandemic is also changed the habit and the behavior of our guests.
Absolutely. I think now, given the pandemic, I think everyone's more kind of relying on the technology, relying on the internet,
Yes.
a little more
Right.
hesitant to leave the phone behind them, as you
Yeah.
mentioned. Um, as an IT expert in the hospitality industry, what is the
Yeah.
biggest change in your opinion to promote to attract new customers? You mentioned a different aspect to consider when approaching customers post pandemic, but like what do you think is the biggest change any hotel or resorts should implement in order to provide that service and attract those new customers?
Okay. Uh, the most important, we have already start to fully implement all the technology. What we need to do is implement the technology from the start. The guests book the room until the guests check out or leaving the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be a challenge if what we can offer to the guest, the experience, start from the guests book the room until the guests leave the hotels.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a full technology involved in the guest experience,
Mm-hmm.
starting from the online booking, online check-in, online order,
Mm-hmm.
and then like a smart television
Mm-hmm.
until the guests leave the hotel is online checkout, and it yeah it will change the hospitality business because as we know the hospitality is face-to-face service business, right? Is we
Yeah.
give smile, we give hospitality, but
Mm-hmm.
now the guest cannot see our smile, right? We
Yeah.
must use a mask, we must use glove, we must use a facial, but we change it with technology experience to our guests.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point in a sense that the hotels and resorts, the hospitality industry in general needs to be ready to digitalize their
Yes,
system and automate as much as they can so that they provide that seamless experience for the customers and to attract new customers. Right?
yes.
Yeah. So in terms of experience, you're right on point. The statistics that we gathered says 67% of customers prefer spending more on experience rather than food. So, what's your opinion on this, or what do you think about this statement and stats?
Yes, it's true. On this situation, we have to compete with other businesses, means like with other hotel, right? So, how to make our guests stay with us is to bring another experience. I mean, food and beverage is not the main business for the hotel right now because yeah, what the guests looking is the experience, even how we can deliver the service by not reduce the guest experience uh, with the technology and with this industry 4.0 that can support the hotel business. That is the key point for the IT to improve their knowledge, to improve their experience for the technology, so they can give a suggestion to the business uh, business changes because of this pandemic period.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right on that note. I think the importance of customer experience has been emphasized more than ever, and I think we keep going back to the importance of customer experience as we talk about the various topics. How important do you think is customer experience for newly starting hotels and resorts in the hospitality industry?
Okay, everybody can have food. Can make a food or beverage, but not everybody can deliver good service, right? So if you go to a hotel or if you go to a place, you go to you have to plan it, right? You have to search it. You have to look for it in the review, in the online review, on or in the social media review, and then because we need to improve that review, what we deliver to our guests, and they create a review for other guests or for other customer.
Yeah.
When we give experience to the guests, so it will be positively impact to the bookings for the hotel. It's not just about the food or the beverage or the rooms, but the guest experience in this pandemic. It becomes a key point to have a good review, especially in the online or the social media review. We cannot block the review, bad review or negative review, but we can change it into the positive review um, by improve our guest experience. That is the important things now to survive, and then to have a business, uh, to change the mindset of the hospitality business. That is how we give a new experience to our guests.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What do you think is the top 3 tips for people who are welcoming back their customers post-pandemic? Top 3 tips.
We promote the health protocol. We promote the high technology hotels, and then we promote the secure, the safety standard to our guests. So that is the tips to make our guests return to our hotel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that allows you to have that bit of an edge against your competitors as well. Kind of really focusing your marketing towards customer experience and really valuing the customer experience, as you mentioned, those positive feedbacks, positive comments, and those Instagram posts, the Facebook posts that you guys really need in order to really kind of outcompete in the market. I think your comments are valid there. So thank you, Raindy, again for joining us today. Obviously, there's a lot of people watching this from the hospitality industry. If you could leave one final last words to them, kind of whether it's advice or encouragement, could you give them like a one last sentence or phrase before you leave?
Yeah. Hospitality industry is depend on the services. So use the technology to improve our services to our guests. What I want to say that this will not end soon, but we can change it into a opportunity to grow the business. So with this situation, we need to survive, and then we need to improve to make this to gain this business to the revenue to the business, because the hospitality business is depend on our guests. If our guests happy, they will come back, and it will improve the revenue to the business. That's all, I think.
Thank you, Raindy, for joining us today.
Thank you.
We hope to see you again. Good luck with everything.
Yeah, see you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We had a deep dive into the impact of technology and how they would reshape the post-pandemic hospitality industry. As Raindy mentioned, the customer experience will matter more than ever as things open up. And if you're looking for ways to improve your customer experience, make sure to join us at MasterTAAG to reinvent the menu experience. You can open your free account today at www.mastertaag.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch. Bye-bye.